Righto, now we're on to part two of conservation agriculture, or no-till. What I'm going to do here is talk a little bit about what are my 6 steps to get into no-till. Most people think, oh well, I'll just go and buy a new no-till planter and I'll be right, I'll be straight into no-till. But the problem is that's probably the last thing I'd do. Let's talk firstly about the first couple of steps about getting into no-till. I won't go through water efficiency calculation, but it's there if you want to have a go at it for yourself. It's basically looking at water efficiency is about how much grain you produce per millimetre of water. So it converts everything back to a common measure so that you can compare yourself against the Central Highlands or whatever. So it's how effectively you are using water. So you can do this yourself at home. Just looking at total summer rainfall and your total in-crop rainfall, and you can get your kilograms of water efficiency out the bottom. And unfortunately, the district average here is around about 8 kilograms per hectare per millimetre, maybe 10 if it's lucky. But then you've got some people who have been measured, but DPI trials have measured people up here doing 28 kilograms per hectare per millimetre. So essentially 3 times that. So if you do things right and timely and nutrition's good, you can bump up that use of rainfall by a considerable amount. So one thing you can't change is how much rainfall you get, but what you can change is what you do with it. Just quickly, the no-till aims. Obviously we're here to make more money. We're not charity, so we want to make more money out of this. We want to increase our water efficiency by doing that and providing more consistent crop production. I think, as you saw in those first graphs about economics, we're trying to minimise the business risk. So we've got to get more consistency of crop production, and that's what a lot of our clients talk about, is consistency of crop production. I guess you're probably also interested in spending less time in the paddock, which means less time on tractors. And we've got guys with, say, 5,000 acres now doing a total of 1,000 hours in machines. Total. So that's what? That's 1,000 hours, less than 3 months worth of work on 5,000 acres. Obviously trying to minimise soil disturbance with maximising stubble cover, reducing runoff and erosion and sediment concentration, as well as pesticides, nutrients. That's what we're aiming to do. And obviously if you're doing that, it's a bit like spray drift, isn't it? Spray drift's no good for the neighbour, but it's also no good for you because the spray's not going on where it should be going. So if you're keeping more nutrient pesticides in your paddock, well, it's doing a better job for you anyway. You're paying for it. So how do we do that? I guess these are my 6 steps to no-till. And when people come to us with no-till, they want to start in no-till, we talked about the planter, and I'm not going to pick on you about the planter, but the planter is probably the last thing we want to do, isn't it? There's a lot of other things that have got to come first, and you can't. I've seen people fail in no-till because they haven't thought about the other 5 things first. They're focused on the planter, not what do we do first. So increased management is number 1. Increased management, I mean, we need, and you've done Bill's workshop, but we need to identify weeds at less than rosette stage. So I'm talking at germination stage, you need to know what the weed is. It's no good waiting for it to flower and then saying, oh, that's fleabane, and then all of a sudden we've got a problem. So again, this comes down to having good agronomists too, and I think most agronomists in Central Queensland will be definitely up to speed with weed control in no-till. But some areas I go to, like New South Wales, South Australia, Victoria, they have got no idea how to control weeds in no-till. They know the weed when it's flowering, but they don't know what it looks like at rosette stage. I guess it comes down to timeliness. A spraying operation sort of has to be done pretty well straight away, whereas you can get away with tillage 2 weeks later and it doesn't really matter. So things are going to have to happen quicker and timely, as well as spray application stuff, which you've already covered, and herbicides. It's a much bigger world than just a cultivated system. planters and setups, nutrition, soil water. We need to know how to measure soil water, and there's a range of ways of doing that. Push probes, or get your agronomist to put a core down. And row configuration becomes important when we start talking about controlled traffic and how we fit all that together. Harvest residues. We sort of obviously getting as best spread as possible, spreaders and choppers to really spread that what's going through the harvester as much as possible. I recommend cutting as high as possible. Is that what people do here, roughly? I mean, sorghum, you've got to do that anyway, but most people cutting as high as they possibly can. We get some sort of disagreement somewhere where maybe that doesn't work, and sometimes in wheat, particularly on narrow rows, it'll fall over, and so people recommend cutting as high as the row spacing so we don't get so much tangling up. But I think up here, I think you're pretty safe with the row spacings that we're working with. I guess the biggest a lot of people are moving for 12 metre fronts, and the big problem is trying to spread 12 metres of straw. But there's some, the new stuff that's out. That's just showing some effects here of the stubble. You can see that sort of wavy, almost seasick effect as you go across it, just of poor stubble spread. And sometimes we can get nutrient tie-up in that, especially down south. We see a lot of nutrient tie-up. But up here, you'd probably see a lot of moisture under the chaff row, and then not much moisture outside of that. So getting that even spread is important. I was on a class header the other day on a demo, and does anyone know what the sort of spreader this is? I can't remember what it was called now. It's not a ready crop one, but it comes on the class. But I think you can buy them aftermarket. It sort of works. It spins it and flicks it at the same time, and you can see where it's flicked it out. You can see how it's sort of distributed along on that bottom photo. It just made a carpet of that barley straw. It was just incredible how well it spread. And that was a 12 metre front, and that's spreading out more than 12 metres. So that's more like 14 metres or 15 metres. It's incredible. So, the new headers are coming out with good choppers and spreaders, but I guess when you've got an older header, you've got to sort of retrofit it. And